There's always a bit of a conundrum when you're building a sports car on the online configurator tool. Everyone who's an enthusiast seems to want the biggest, the baddest, the most loaded, the highest performance options. And in some cases, you don't necessarily need that spec sheet to be super loaded to still have a great time. This is Out Motorsports, channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and this is a 2023 Chevy Corvette with all-season tires. I'm here at Pride at the Dragon in the beautiful Appalachian Mountains with 200 of my best friends, driving all of the best back roads on the East Coast, and I'm here to talk about why this 2023 Corvette with all of the nice options and minimal performance upgrades is actually still a great car to drive. So let's get into it. Now I'm holding this window sticker. This is just a copy of the regular window sticker for this car because A, I have the memory of a goldfish, and B, this is a very interestingly, fascinatingly equipped car. I've driven the C8 Corvette several times at this point. If you've been watching the channel for a while, I've been to Spring Mountain and driven the Z51 performance package of the Stingray, and I've also driven the Corvette Z06. In both cases, I've driven those on the street and on the racetrack, on some great roads. It's been a ton of fun. But this one that I have here for my Tail of the Dragon vacation is a Stingray 3LT that does not have the Z51 performance package. It is on Michelin all-season tires. And in fact, the only thing they've done for the sake of performance here is the performance exhaust. It's an active valved exhaust that changes with your drive mode. But it does not have mag ride. It does not have the big wing. It's got a teeny cute little wing on the back and a little spoiler on the front. And otherwise, what do we have here? 20-inch wheels, carbon fiber trim. It's got the front lift so you can get, run it over curbs, not hit anything. But otherwise, this is very much a luxury first spec. It's got the full leather interior, the extended leather, tan seat belts, composite black rocker panels. It's an $88,000 Corvette that, in theory, is not the performance one. But I'm here at Tail of the Dragon. There are all these fantastic roads. If you live on the East Coast, you need to come out here at some point. And we've driven this car, you'll probably notice it's kind of dirty. We've driven this car for several days, both in very rainy conditions and now in very dry conditions on these tires with kind of the base setup, and it's very good. So I want to get behind the wheel and talk all about how it is to drive. We'll do that in just a second. Just before we get into that, a couple quick performance things because every C8 Stingray is going to be mechanically pretty similar. 495 horsepower from that 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 that is mounted right here. This one has the target top that you take out yourself, which means you can see the engine, versus the convertibles where you can't because the top kind of goes there. They all have a mechanical limited slip differential, which we'll talk about again in the driving portion. It goes a long way to making this car actually very, very good to drive. They all have nice big brakes. They all have an 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. So there's a lot going on here that is, of course, great and a lot to like. And this is the epitome of if the bones are good, you can just ratchet the car up and up and up with the options you add, but even the most basic car is still gonna be great fun. So with all that, let's get behind the wheel and talk about how this 2023 C8 3LT with all-season tires is to drive on the Tail of the Dragon. All right, so let's talk about driving the 2023 Corvette 3LT with all-season tires and no performance options except an exhaust. I was a little tentative about driving this car here because the tail and all the surrounding roads are quick, and this car is kind of big in the first place, but I've actually become very comfortable with it, and I really like the fact that this is a sort of more basic version of the Corvette. I think there's a lot to be said about the bones being good, and in this case, they are. This being mid-engined, your pivot point is right here. The whole car wants to rotate right around your hips, and it has just made this entire trip so easy. And I say that, and I'm so excited about that because my first 2 days here were rain, and not just like sprinkles, but heavy rain to where there was, not standing water everywhere, but we had standing water, and then we had wet roads everywhere. So obviously I'm very concerned about safety and not having any issues with lack of grip or whatever. This car had so much traction, so much grip, and the best part was, of course, I was going slower, I was paying a little more attention, to speed and to corner entry and exit and all that, but it just made my life so easy. I wasn't working that hard, much like I'm not working hard right now chasing Tyler in this Mustang. And the Corvette is very good to drive no matter what because the bones are good. Now in this case, being on that base suspension without mag ride, it's a little soft. I'm noticing the softness more in the dry because I can push the car a little harder here versus being more easygoing in the wet. But Still a very compliant, good ride, and you know, minimal body roll through corners, just very, very easy here. And of course, the tires are not going to have, you know, as much grip as a summer performance tire would, but they've got plenty. And otherwise, the rest of the car is the car. It's mid-engine, like I said. It wants to rotate. Turn-in is pretty good, still pretty easy with, you know, minimal to no understeer through a corner. And you don't really have to work that hard to get it to turn in and bite. It responds really nicely to some trail braking and just some very nice, easy weight management with your right foot on the brake pedal or on the throttle. And then when you roll back on the throttle, you've got plenty of torque. I honestly have gone full throttle maybe 3 times the whole time I've been here because you just don't need it. You can carry momentum really easily. As soon as you start wanting to work with the car, it will work with you back. And then you'll notice I'm shifting the transmission manually. This is that 8-speed dual clutch. It is a fabulous transmission. The gearing for these roads is really good, actually. I'm usually going between 2nd and 3rd on the tighter parts, and then 4th for these longer straightaways where you can get to, you know, highway speed for a hot second, and it can be a little more relaxed. But the gearing is not too short, not too long. It's very Goldilocks-y, and I think that's always a concern when you've got a, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10-speed transmission where you can just have a lot of ratios, and some of them can be really short, and then you're always shifting. So nice to have it like this instead. Again, just on the brakes, it just wants to turn in. It's so easy. And you hear that exhaust and that crack when it upshifts. That is the active performance exhaust. It's valved, so when you're in tour mode, it's quieter. When you're in sport mode or the other, you know, track and whatever modes, it's much louder. It is really fantastic. But the best part about this car so far is that I've just had a nice time with it. It's so predictable, it's so easy, and it's so forgiving. I've not really had any low traction moments, but it's easy to handle. If I were to have any, it would be easy to manage, and I'm not scared of it. And this is a, you know, a big high performance car, and it's just approachable, and that's really, really nice. Now, I've been kind of gushing about this all so far, but I do want to talk about how this is to like live with otherwise. It's tight in here. I knew that going into this. I drove this about 9 hours one way to get to the tail for this event. It is tight for a 6'1" person. Obviously, I've got the roof out today because it's beautiful. When it was raining, the roof was in. For my road trip, the roof was in. I am cramped in here. I don't fit in these very well with a helmet on. So any tall people, it's kind of tough. I've, of course, had some passengers throughout my trip. People on the passenger side riding shotgun have said it's a little cramped given the wall here with all your controls. It kind of pushes your left knee over a little bit. But, you know, in general, it's kind of what you get for something that's vaguely supercar shaped and sized. What is nice with having the engine behind you, other than that pivot point and the car wanting to rotate, you've got excellent visibility out the front of the car, and then you've got those big fender haunches on either side, so you do know where the corners of it are. So it's very, very easy to see out in the front and to position everything. One thing that I've noticed doing all these back road drives, the pillars are not actually so big, the A-pillars, they're fine. But for my seating position being tall, I'm having to kind of crane forward on the tighter roads, on the tail itself. That's been a little bit of a pain because where I want to look through a corner is actually the A-pillar itself, and that's not very helpful. So I've had to adjust my seating position just a touch, but not the end of the world. You can be more relaxed when you're on the highway just cruising. The issue when you look rearward, of course, is that you have an engine and a trunk behind you, and it goes on for a while. So that can be a little difficult for the sake of backing up the car. It's been really tough at night, especially, even with the backup camera and the mirrors that dip and all that sort of stuff. It's just a little difficult. But the whole point of this car is to drive. You should be looking forward, not backward. So that then is perfectly fine. They do have the digital rear view mirror, which I generally like in this car because otherwise you really can't see out behind you too well. So I do like the use of it here. Even at night, it works fairly well. So this has been a really, really nice car, and you know, tons of fun. And the thing is, would this be a little sharper and faster if it was a Z51? Yes. Would it be even more sharp and fast and nuts if it was a Z06? Of course. But I think there's a point to be made here in that you don't have to have the biggest, baddest, most expensive Corvette or other performance car to have a great time with it. I have been laughing, giggling, having the most fun by myself with my friends. And this one is the luxury one. This has extended leather and all, you know, all this other nice stuff. But like, am I missing out by not having mag ride? Am I having less fun because I don't have mag ride? No. Am I having less fun because I don't have a Pilot Sport 4S summer tire? No. The limits are a touch lower, and honestly, on the street, all of these cars are so capable. Hey, Kyle. Kyle's here driving a 1931 or 1928 Dodge Brothers DK8, which is so cool. To my point, Kyle's having fun in a Dodge Brothers that has active nothing. I'm having fun in a Corvette that doesn't have any of the performance stuff on it, really. And the limits of all these cars are so high, they are so fast, and you are on public roads. This is more than enough to have a riot. And all of the extra stuff you can add on to these, sure, better for the track, you know, better if you can have this road closed off to yourself and treat it as your own racetrack every morning. But if you're on the street sharing the road with everybody, this is a lovely car. And I don't think I'm missing out on anything. It's a touch soft, sure. It just makes it a little more fun. I'm having a blast. All right, that is it for this review of the 2023 Chevy Corvette Stingray 3LT at the tail of the dragon. Thank you so much for coming along. As always, please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe right here on YouTube. Give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Out Motorsports. If you'd like to join an ever-growing community of LGBT automotive enthusiasts and motorsports competitors, head over to outmotorsports.com. We've got a whole online community of people who would love to be your new best friend, and we are hosting events around the United States throughout the rest of this year and into 2024. We would love to have you for any and all of that. Till next time, please stay safe, be well, see you again soon.